The amount of business owners that have set up from after being redundant, that push has been the making of them. They're the days that are the best. The days that you definitely don't feel like it. It's the days you should go. It's the most uncomfortable situation, but when you've done it, it's the best feeling. It's the same with going to exercise. After feeling, you've got to think about, this is testing me now. And I'll say that every time, something's good's going to come today.
Do you think that people are born with resilience, or do you think it's something that you can develop as a skill?
I do believe factors in your life can help build the resilience if things go wrong. In fact, the more things go wrong in a weird way is good for growth. I think potentially I was born with a little bit of it. I don't know for sure, but there was a lot of things that have happened in my life that's given me the resilience, I think. Because I think when you come through something that's gone wrong, or a heartbreak, or something bad's happened, it just makes you stronger.
And that's been a real theme, I think, through this series so far. Everyone that I've spoken to has said getting laid off, being made redundant, those sorts of things can actually become a huge positive in your life.
Yeah. So obviously with us being accountants and speaking to business owners, the amount of business owners that have set up from after being redundant, that's given them that push, because they're probably already wanting to do it anyway, because you have that plug for years, don't you, before you dare. And being that push has been the making of them.
If someone's in that position, if they're facing redundancy and they're thinking of going down that route, often I think if you've got some action steps that you can take, that, in my view anyway, helps with resilience, because you know you've got a bit of something you can control and move forwards with. So if you're in that spot, what do you think are some things that people should do to look at building that first business?
Well, the only thing that I can think of, so if they haven't already, obviously the people around you are they say the more you network, it becomes your net worth. It's the people around you that's going to help you try different things. So if you haven't already, I would definitely go to local networking events, and it shouldn't matter, and it doesn't matter that you haven't got a job, because people love helping others that are in that sort of situation. And for me, because social media is massive, being on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, posting about what you're up to, what you enjoy doing, and having a bit of a personal brand so people get to know who you are, and even share what's happening in your life. Because I've seen, was it yesterday, someone on LinkedIn posted that they've been made redundant. Can you help me out? Told us what he can do, and people are sharing it and liking it. He's got thousands.
If you were in a position where you just got made redundant or whatever, and you're right, next step, I've got to go networking, what are the things that you'd advise people to think about ahead of that to prep for it? What should they be thinking about going in? Like, how do they make that a successful experience?
I would go for some more of a social events. I don't know, there's many. I run one myself. I'm terrified of networking, and I know people, it's the most uncomfortable situation, but you've just got to get yourselves there. And when you've done it, it's the best feeling. It's the same with going to exercise. After feeling, you've got to think about it. It is uncomfortable, and it will be, but the more you go, the more you'll be like, this ain't that bad. And then you'll just start speaking to people and just go for it. But you can't just go once. The magic doesn't happen on day one. I think it takes a year to 2 years of consistency. That's where people drop off. They'll go to one and go, oh, that was too overwhelming, I'm never going back again. And that's where you miss the magic, because you've got to keep going when it's uncomfortable, because everyone there is in the same position as you are, whether they are the owner of a business, an employee, new to the area. Everyone's feeling it, but some people hide it well. In fact, everyone probably does, to be fair. You've just got to keep reminding yourself of your vision of who you want to speak to. You never know who you're going to meet and who's going to open doors for you. And they do definitely open doors.
And how do you know who you want to go and find?
Because you'll just know when you speak to that person, you get that rapport with them straight away. You will. And I've also had chats with people that I think, I won't be speaking to you again, because it's just the salesy, or the ones that are not genuine. You just feel it, you just know, and you'll just get to in your right places.
And you mentioned that sales element, and that's a big no-no at networking, isn't it?
Big no-no.
Pitching at people straight away. So what's a better approach for people to take?
I think just be yourself. Just go in and be yourself.
Yeah.
It's so easy just to say, I know it's uncomfortable, or come to my networking event, my social, if you can travel. They're more than welcome to come to one of mine. But yeah, I would just say rock up and just be yourself. Just give it a go. What have you got to lose? Why do people shy away from it? But I do remember my first networking event. I went through my corporate job, and it was a breakfast meeting. So it was at 7 a.m. on every Friday, every first Friday of the month. And I was so nervous. I'd lose sleep the night before. Yeah. But I really wanted it because I kept thinking of who I could meet, and I was excited to be a part of a community. And it's developed. So it took 6 years of going before I even started my business. And the amount of people that wanted to help the business when it finally got to that stage was unreal. And I met friends that I went to a wedding, people that I still speak to now. They are now a committee member of my social. It opens so many doors, and I just wish people would just keep at them.
And that theme of consistency you've mentioned, I think applies across so much of this stuff, doesn't it? Whether it's being successful at networking or whether it's building your personal brand on LinkedIn. Like, how important has that concept of consistency been for you?
It's been amazing. I do video footage of like the business journey. I have just watched, I've said it in my video today, I got a memory that come up from a video from 4 years ago, and I'm saying the same things that I am today about how fitness has changed my life, networking, get yourselves out there, and what I've done with the business. And it's the consistency. It's just been amazing.
And what is it that you found personally that powers you through and creates that consistency in the early days of something where you've not seen any results, you're not getting the rewards of things? I guess that applies to fitness as well as networking as well as other things. Like, how do you discipline yourself to keep going even though you're not seeing those results?
Because I'll say to myself, you might meet someone new, you might get a business today. And I'll say that every time. Something's good's going to come today. I always think of the after. I visualize a good conversation. The more you visualize the good at the end of it, the more subconsciously, when you're in there, you're going to meet someone good to talk to. There's so many times I didn't want to go, and I thought, oh, it's going to be the same people. But then I have a conversation when I'm there, and I'm like, oh, this is why I've come. And it could be something so small, like a HR lady, or, I've met a college lady that I think, oh, I need to talk to about an apprenticeship, and if the more people that know who you are, the better, in my opinion.
Definitely. And that discipline presumably has helped on building your LinkedIn profile as well.
Yeah, you need discipline because my motivation's not always there. So it definitely has, even though I've done it where I've gone all day and I thought I hadn't had time for LinkedIn. And I did a video at like 6 o'clock to say, oh, I hadn't had time today. And it's really stressful at the minute. And that got really good traction because everyone's suffering, aren't they, at times? Yeah.
Well, it's stuff people can relate to, isn't it? And it's also, it's being vulnerable and authentic as well, isn't it? It's just putting yourself out there rather than, hey, we've got this offer or we do this service or whatever.
Yes, and that's the difference. And it does not everyone can do that. Just talk about, everyone thinks they're boring, don't they? Oh, what have I got to talk about? But really, I'm not anything different, nothing special with what I do in my daily routine. And I know some people won't like my fitness talk because they're thinking, oh, as if I've got time. They're not your people. And then that's okay, because you will have an audience that like that.
There's a really famous marketer. I'm going to embarrass myself by forgetting his name now because I should know it. But he talks about building your tribe in one of his books, doesn't he? And it's kind of finding that group of people that want to be around what you're doing and what you want to talk about.
And that's hard because I know people get bored of the same content. And if I'm posting the same content, which I am because that's true to me, then the people at the beginning will drop off. But you'll find newbies along the way as well. And that's okay too. And I've had to get quite uncomfortable with that. Oh, they're used to like really, the ones at the beginning that you think promote you and help you, and they drop off and you're like, oh, but they might be just bored. They don't see it anymore. That's the resilience coming in, and not always thinking they don't like me. They don't like me because you could be further wrong. So much in your head's wrong.
I love that. And you said it a couple of times now, that idea of thinking about the after, thinking about what's sort of past this challenge. What are you going for? What are you trying to push through to achieve? Yeah. And then harnessing that to get you to be consistent, or get up at 5, or go to a networking event, or whatever it sort of is. How have you built that? Is that part of a bigger vision for where your life's going, or is it just simple, what is the best thing that can happen here, and let's just hang on to that?
Yeah, I like the idea of everyone knowing who I am and where I'm coming from. And in 5 years, I can say, bam, look at my YouTube now, look at my LinkedIn, look at the businesses, look what I've spoke about. And I do hold on to that. Look at my book. I'm just like, And it might not come through, but it's a nice feeling regardless. It keeps me happy. So
Yeah.
even if it doesn't happen, it's okay, because I'm on this, like, I'm enjoying the process of it all. Even when things go wrong and you try something new or move to some different place, do many people regret it? Or think, oh, if only I was still at that company?
Yeah.
Very rarely they think like that, because you just make the best of it and you'll keep making the best of it. That's how I see it. So, I've had moments in the business where a client has left, and at the time I'm like, oh, and then I think, but they were a bit of a pain. Actually, we undersold ourselves there, or something changed, and then we get a new client that sees our value better, and everything worked. And I think that's why we lost them, because we had more time for these.
Yeah.
So you have to switch the bad to a good, make the most of it, see the good in it.
It's like that obstacle is the way thing, isn't it? That from it's a Marcus Aurelius quote or something like that. And there's a book, isn't there, about like the challenge, actually, you can turn it around to become your sort of advantage. But I love that idea of thinking about what's going to happen after, or trying to find the good in things, or trying to connect it to the long-term vision. Because I think as people, we often we build up the little challenges around us, don't we, until they're overwhelming. Where actually in 6 months, the challenge that I'm facing today, probably I'll have forgotten about.
100%.
But the vision will still be there, won't it? The positives in the long term will be.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. Like, I've got a fitness competition coming up 5-6 weeks, my second one. I never believed I'd do anything like this, as well as running a business. You can fit in so much more with our time than you think. And there's so many people that just wing it. But you know what's helped me as well is scheduling content in my diary. I've putting lots of things in and then I think, God, I can fit it in. And if it's something in my diary, like my gym at lunchtime, I'm more likely to go to it rather than going, oh, I'll leave that today. But I'm very disciplined. I know I am.
So we've talked a lot about maybe more of the business side of things and starting something there, and the LinkedIn personal branding and stuff. But obviously that's not for everyone. Like, not everyone wants to go and build their own thing, and it's not right for everybody.
Yeah, people are private, aren't they? Whereas I'm quite open.
Well, yeah, but I think a lot of people, even the idea of starting a business is just not for them, right? It's not what they want. They want to think about kind of going back to employment or finding the next role and things like that. And one of the things that obviously running Future Cow with Charlotte, you have to hire people, right? You have to look at CVs, you have to go through interviews. So what are the sort of things that really help a candidate stand out for you, either on a CV or as part of an interview?
A bit of excitement, a bit of personality. Look, sound enthusiastic about the role and who you are. Even a video, I know that's really brave, but that is going to happen more and more, I think, in the future, of like recruitment video content of people's personalities, or just saying who they are as a short 1 minute brief. Just a bit of personality and the right attitude. So it's not necessarily all the technicalities. It's about having that attitude that you want to learn. Because so many people sell themselves short because they're like, well, I haven't done uni, or I haven't studied for that, or I haven't done this. But if they've got the right attitude and they're willing to learn, you'll go far. I really believe that.
And so as an employer then, you would maybe weigh attitude and mindset maybe above qualifications or experience in some cases?
Yes, I do believe in that, but I also think you do need the experience. But then if someone was not an accountant but wants to grow and do that job role, like my sister, for example, she has been fantastic because of her attitude, but we've taught her over the years. But obviously you need that person to show them the way. But we would definitely do that again. Have someone that's probably not done it before, put them through their exams and get the experience for them, because they've got the right attitude to grow with us.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? You're not going to put a really enthusiastic person in the cockpit of a plane. They don't know what they're doing, so you've got to have that baseline, right? But
you have to have which we've got now. Obviously, at the beginning, that was really difficult, but we've done that, and I like that. I'd rather their attitude, to be honest. That's the bit you can't teach, that oomph.
And it's so interesting that sort of personal brand conversation sort of almost comes back in here again, doesn't it? It's about kind of putting yourself forward rather than necessarily, here's a list of things I can do.
Yeah.
It's letting that personality shine through, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I definitely think that's the way forward.
Amazing. Francesca, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Cheers. See you soon. Bye.
See ya.